The Public vs. Autistic Tony Stark by ajexists. Chapter 5. You're faking it. Of course someone posted a video online. Of course someone did. Tony was sitting in the living room on the couch. He had a pillow over his face and would occasionally scream into it. It wasn't the worst PR mess he's been in. He's certainly done and said worse things. He mostly just feels embarrassed. His team, and Pepper, had him release a statement basically saying how he apologises to the waitress, how she hit a sensitive spot during a bad week, but he recognises his bad behaviour and will work on it. I have no excuses, only issues and behaviours to work on in the future. Classic PR. People are mixed on it, of course they are. People are never satisfied. Tony is searching through the responses of people. Most they are just parroting the same opinion they've had for years. Tony Stark's a monster. Tony's done nothing wrong. Really, this is all the PR team's job. Go through all the public responses and see how to go forward from that, which they still do, and Tony, almost always, follows through with the plan. Iron Man doesn't count. Tony, though, still typically reads through public responses. Some may call it self-obsession, some may call it torture, some may call it being informed. Whatever the reason, Tony does it. Currently he is on YouTube scrolling through videos and watching a few. Most are news stations or pop culture channels spilling the tea, whatever that means. Most videos are barely a minute long. The longest one he saw was 3 minutes, and that's because they also touched on the press conference. He went back to the homepage and then saw a video in his recommended section, one titled, Dear Tony Stark, Stop Faking It. Tony was curious, faking what exactly? So he clicked on the video. The video was shot in this person's bedroom. The screen showed their bed, and on their wall had a bunch of Pokemon and anime posters. They were wearing a red shirt that said, Actually Autistic. They had a couple of tattoos on their arm, including some Pokemon, and their hair was shaved into a mullet style and was dyed pink. The person started speaking. Hi, my name is Mel. I use they/them pronouns, and I am actually autistic, unlike the topic of this video. Tony raised his eyebrows. What? Yup, a bit of a different video today. Normally I talk about different theories for my favourite animes, or I do reviews and analyse certain aspects of the Pokemon games, but I'm just sick and tired of this rich motherfucker pretending to have a real condition that millions of people actually struggle with. Normally Tony would roll his eyes at the rich person comment. He knows people hate him just because he's rich, that's a fact of life since he was conceived, maybe even before that. But he didn't. He couldn't. Pretending to have a condition. Autism. An autistic person really believed he was faking having it. We all know Tony Stark. A picture of him came up beside Mel. He's the richest person in the world, he's Iron Man, he's super smart. Well, a few months ago, he announced to the world that he is #actually autistic. Mel rolled their eyes. I'm so sick and tired of people pretending to be autistic because it's cool and trendy. In case you don't know, autism is an actual disorder. It's a neurological disorder. It means it's something you're born with and struggle with your whole life. He knows this. I know this. A bit of backstory of me first, Mel said. I was diagnosed at 5 years old. I was making no eye contact with anyone. I lived in my own little world. I was talking, but only about the things that interested me, which of course was Pokemon. I couldn't go to school because of this. I was homeschooled my whole life. I may seem fine now, but it's after years of therapy and many autistic social groups that have helped me get to this point. Look, I watched that press conference thing, they said. Everything he's describing isn't really autism. They leaned forward towards the camera. You've got to remember, Tony Stark is the richest and one of the most powerful people in the world, so do you really believe all the things he, quote, struggled with are really autistic struggles? Or was he always just an egotist who believed he was better than everyone else and had to deal with the consequences of that? Shall we go through this thing line by line, shall we? No, please don't. Mel looked down at a piece of paper, which supposedly had quotes from the press conference he gave. He was quiet, didn't play with toys, a prodigy. They looked back up at the camera. Okay, there are a lot of quiet kids, and lots of autistic people are actually quite loud. Didn't play with toys? Sounds like your mom and dad just didn't love you. They shrugged. Fucking ouch. And a prodigy. Look, this is just perpetuating the stereotype that autistic people have to be amazing at something, when really you can just be a normal person. You don't have to be this amazing prodigy of a child to be autistic, and I believe he only really said this to boost his ego. Yep, boosting my ego during an emotionally vulnerable press conference. Mel looked back at the paper. By 4 he didn't speak more than 10 words. How the fuck would you remember that? Struggled to put on clothes? They glanced up. You know, like a normal child. They looked back at the paper, moving his hands in, quote, weird ways. They rolled their eyes again and looked back up. This is where I start to get pissed off. Stimming isn't weird, Tony Stark. It's self-regulatory behaviours, and it helps us actually autistic folks calm down and process the world, and you're just making fun of it, just, ugh. Mel punches their bed a couple of times. It makes me so unbelievably angry that you don't understand this, and yet trying to make it seem like you have it. Tony's heart started to race a little. He took a shaky breath. I do understand. That's just what my father said. The last 2 points he brings up before lying to the world. I'm not lying. Oh, the fact that he used to cry in front of the cameras and paparazzi, and this time in school. These two have simple explanations too. The paparazzi sucks. No one likes them. Anyone would act like that. They invade your privacy. Not liking your privacy invaded doesn't mean you're autistic. It just means you're a normal fucking person. I said I hated it because of the flashing lights and overlapping voices, not the privacy aspect. And the school thing, Mel sighed. He literally says he was 7 in a class full of 10-year-olds. You don't have to dig deeper than that. If you so desperately want to, maybe your classmates didn't like you because how much of a narcissist you are. I wasn't like that as a kid. So apart from everything we covered in the press conference that can easily be explained by normal childhood behaviours and narcissism, what evidence do we really have? Maybe the diagnosis document that was leaked? And you may say, oh, the documents. Those can easily be faked. And how come it was only Tony's diagnosis that was leaked? Why not the whole building? They were. You just don't know because they aren't famous celebrities. And isn't it a little funny? Mel leaned forwards towards the camera. How all of this happened after the Civil War debacle. The Avengers have fallen apart. Tony Stark's image is lower than ever. Why not try to save face? They smile. Tony's heart drops. Moral of the story, Mel leans back to their original position. A rich white man fakes a condition that will give him attention and clout, ruining the reputation of a real disorder, in order to save his own reputation. Mel stares directly into the camera. Tony Stark, if you ever end up watching this, I hope you do. Just know that we, the actually autistic community, the ones who have actually struggled through life and couldn't just buy everything under the sun, we do not support you. We do not believe you. You are a liar, a narcissist, and someone who really needs to learn what real struggles are. You don't have struggles. You're the most privileged person on the planet, and faking a diagnosis isn't going to get you anywhere. So just admit that you're faking and leave us alone. We don't want you ruining this community, especially because you were never part of it to begin with. The video ends. Tony panics. He shuts off the laptop and slides off the couch. His breathing rapidly quickens and the rocking starts. He shakes his head, whispering, no, 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 over and over and over again. Everything that Mel said in the video runs through his head. Everything he's experienced was just normal. That he was making fun of the condition. That he was lying about everything. Faking. He was faking everything. We do not support you. We don't believe you. An autistic person said that. He had a feeling that neurotypical people wouldn't believe him, that they wouldn't support him. He expected that. But an autistic person to say that. Someone from his own community. Oh, right. You were never part of it to begin with. How foolish he was to believe that he had found a group of people who would accept him. No, Tony Stark will forever be the pathetic, traumatised rich boy that nobody likes. How selfish was he to try and find something that could explain his issues? No, the issue was always him. It couldn't be explained by autism, because it wasn't. It was just him, Tony Stark. an attention seeker, a narcissist, a liar. He curled up and sobbed the rest of the night. Thank you for listening. I really hope you enjoyed. Have a lovely day.